Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, delved deep into the human psyche, uncovering uncomfortable truths about both men and women. But among his most controversial insights were those about the feminine psyche, truths that many men today still struggle to confront. Jung wasn't attacking women. He was exposing the unconscious dynamics that shape male-female relationships. In this video, we explore Jung's most unsettling revelations about the female shadow, the anima, and the illusion many men fall for. Prepare yourself, because what Jung said might just change the way you view modern relationships. Carl Jung's concept of the anima is one of his most powerful yet misunderstood ideas, especially when it comes to how men perceive women. The anima is not a woman in the external world. It's the unconscious feminine image within every man's psyche. It is formed through early experiences with the mother, female figures, cultural archetypes, and emotional encounters with women throughout life. The anima becomes the blueprint for how a man relates to the feminine, how he sees women, how he loves them, and how he reacts to them. The problem is, most men are unaware that this anima even exists. They don't know that what they desire, fear, or expect from women is often shaped not by real interaction, but by a deep, psychological projection. When a man encounters a woman who resembles his anima image, he doesn't fall in love with her. He falls in love with what she represents in his unconscious. He sees her as beautiful, mysterious, nurturing, seductive, or even divine. But these traits are not necessarily part of her personality. They are pieces of his own soul, projected onto her like a movie screen. This is why Jung said that falling in love is often more about projection than connection. The man projects his anima onto a woman and believes he has found the one. But what he has really found is a mirror of his own unconscious. In the early stages of love, everything feels magical. The woman appears perfect. She completes him. But as time passes, reality sets in. She begins to behave in ways that contradict his fantasy. She has flaws, opinions, desires, and wounds of her own. The illusion shatters. When the projection collapses, the man is left with confusion, disappointment, even rage. He feels betrayed, not because the woman deceived him, but because he deceived himself. He didn't truly see her. He only saw his anima. Jung warned that this psychological trap leads many men into emotional chaos. They bounce from woman to woman, always chasing the perfect anima figure, and never understanding why their relationships never last. Others become disillusioned with love altogether, assuming all women are fake or not like they used to be. But the truth lies not outside. They lie deep within the man himself. And here is where Jung's insight becomes even more brutal. Most men don't love women. They worship them. This is not love rooted in reality. It is idolatry, a form of psychological possession. Men turn women into symbols of hope, salvation, healing, or escape. They believe that if they can find the right woman, their pain will end. Their lives will be meaningful. Their inner void will be filled. But this is a dangerous illusion. When a man puts a woman on a pedestal, he doesn't see her as a person. He sees her as an ideal. She becomes the goddess, the mother, the muse. She must always be beautiful, understanding, nurturing, and supportive. She is not allowed to be angry, tired, flawed, or human. The moment she fails to live up to this impossible standard, the man feels betrayed. The same woman he once adored becomes the villain in his story. The worship turns to resentment, and sometimes even hatred. Jung called this the tyranny of the anima, because when a man is ruled by his anima, he is not in control of himself. He is enslaved by unconscious forces that twist his perception. He seeks a woman not to love her, but to fulfill his inner lack. And no woman can ever do that, because it is not her responsibility. The anima is his own inner work. This is why Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming whole, is essential. A man must confront the anima, speak with her, understand her, and integrate her into his conscious life. He must stop projecting and start seeing. Only when he has developed a relationship with his inner feminine can he truly love a woman in the outer world, without illusion, without idolatry, without neediness or domination. Until then, he is not loving her. He is using her as a screen to reflect his own unconscious soul. And that, Jung warned, is not love. It is psychological possession. Carl Jung did not shy away from the uncomfortable truth that both men and women possess a shadow, a darker, repressed side of the psyche, made up of everything we deny about ourselves. While much psychological and spiritual literature focuses on the male shadow, aggression, pride, domination, Jung was equally adamant that the feminine has a shadow too. But unlike the overt, explosive tendencies of the male shadow, the shadow of the feminine is more covert, subtle, and psychological. And this is precisely what makes it so dangerous. The modern world is heavily shaped by the idealization of the feminine. Society often paints women as inherently nurturing, peaceful, emotionally intelligent, and morally superior. From media to religious symbolism, the feminine is associated with love, compassion, and healing. But this is only one side of the archetype. Jung warned that this idealized image is just as much a projection as the anima in a man's psyche. By worshipping the light side of the feminine, we blind ourselves to her darker impulses. The shadow feminine is manipulative, emotionally controlling, possessive, passive-aggressive, and even cruel, though not always in obvious ways. She doesn't dominate with physical force, but through the subtle weaponization of emotion, guilt, seduction, or victimhood. She doesn't scream, she withholds. She doesn't confront, she controls from behind the scenes. Jung noted that the shadow feminine can manifest as a destructive force, not just in individuals, but in entire cultures, through psychological games, toxic mothering, or ideological manipulation, masquerading as care. One of the most unsettling expressions of the feminine shadow is what Jung called the devouring mother archetype. This is the woman who appears loving and self-sacrificing on the surface, but who unconsciously smothers and consumes others, especially her children or partner, to maintain a sense of control. She overprotects, not out of genuine care, but because she fears losing relevance or power. She offers love with strings attached. She demands loyalty, not out of trust, but out of emotional dependency. And the terrifying part? She may not even be aware she's doing it. For men who have not integrated their own anima or resolved their relationship to the maternal figure, they become especially vulnerable to the pull of the feminine shadow. They may become entangled with women who unconsciously mirror the traits of the devouring mother. Women who offer warmth but drain the man's independence, who nurture but belittle, who love but emotionally manipulate. The man feels trapped, confused by the contrast between what he sees and what he feels. He cannot criticize her behavior without being labeled ungrateful, unmanly, or abusive. And so he stays silent or breaks away in bitterness, often blaming all women rather than confronting the psychological pattern at play. Jung emphasized that the feminine shadow is not evil in the moral sense. It is unconscious. It arises from woundedness, from unmet needs, from generational trauma, from societal conditioning. Just as men are conditioned to suppress emotion and vulnerability, women are often conditioned to suppress anger, ambition, and sexual agency. These suppressed traits don't disappear. They go underground, where they grow twisted and dangerous. A woman disconnected from her own shadow becomes a vessel for unconscious chaos. She may sabotage relationships, attack other women, manipulate those around her, all while believing she is simply being kind, concerned, or misunderstood. And here lies Jung's brutal truth. Many men are not prepared to deal with the reality of the feminine shadow. They are enchanted by the dream of the nurturing goddess, the divine feminine, the soulmate who will heal their wounds. But when confronted by the manipulative, angry, or emotionally unstable aspects of real women, they recoil. They either demonize all women or fall deeper into toxic entanglements, hoping to fix the woman or endure her until she becomes the fantasy again. What Jung wanted was for men and women to recognize the fullness of the feminine psyche, to see that women, like men, are complex, contradictory, and layered. They possess both light and darkness, both compassion and rage, both power and vulnerability. Until men can see women as whole, they will continue to fall into one of two traps: worshipping them as angels or fearing them as monsters. Both are projections, both are distortions. The feminine shadow is not something to be feared, but understood. And Jung believed that facing it, truly facing it, is one of the hardest and most liberating tasks a man can undertake. Because only then can he relate to women as equals, not saviors, not enemies, not puzzles to be solved, but as fellow human beings wrestling with the same inner chaos. To deny the existence of the dark feminine is to live in a fantasy. And no relationship, no society, no man can mature until that illusion is broken. Carl Jung believed that one of the greatest psychological traps a man can fall into is the unconscious influence of the mother complex. This complex is formed during childhood, shaped by a boy's early relationship with his mother. And unless it is consciously addressed in adulthood, it continues to influence how he views women, love, authority, and even his own self-worth. The mother complex doesn't mean a man literally still depends on his mother in a physical sense. It means he remains emotionally and psychically entangled in the role she played in his inner world: nurturer, protector, critic, controller. That imprint, whether loving or wounding, becomes the lens through which he sees the feminine for the rest of his life. The tragedy of the mother complex is that it arrests the man's emotional development. He may be 30, 40, or even 60 years old, but still relate to women as a child relates to a mother. This can manifest in several ways. He may become overly dependent on a romantic partner to take care of him emotionally, expecting her to soothe his anxieties, regulate his moods, and carry the emotional weight of the relationship. He doesn't want a partner. He wants a caregiver. And when she fails to mother him as he secretly wishes, he grows resentful, passive-aggressive, or emotionally distant. There are also men who go the opposite route. Their mother complex may be rooted in a controlling, smothering, or critical mother, so they grow up with a deep need to assert their independence. But instead of genuine emotional maturity, they adopt hypermasculine personas. They fear intimacy, mock vulnerability, and seek dominance in relationships to avoid feeling weak. On the surface, they appear strong, but underneath, they are terrified of being emotionally engulfed, controlled, or judged by a woman, just as they once felt with their mothers. Jung identified that these unresolved complexes lead to a life of repetition. A man unknowingly chooses partners who mirror his mother, either to relive the original trauma or to try to fix the past. He becomes stuck in a psychological loop, replaying the same emotional drama over and over again, but never gaining freedom. This is why so many relationships become battlegrounds for unconscious wounds. It's not about the person in front of him. It's about the unresolved energy within him. The path out of this cycle is individuation, a central concept in Jung's work. Individuation means becoming a whole, integrated person by confronting and integrating the unconscious parts of the self. For a man, this includes facing his anima, his inner feminine, his shadow, the dark, denied aspects of his personality, and most crucially, his relationship to the feminine. He must look at how his early experiences shaped his desires, his fears, his insecurities, and his expectations of women. This is not a simple intellectual exercise. It is a painful, often humiliating process. It requires a man to stop blaming women for his suffering and instead turn inward. Why does he feel abandoned when she pulls away emotionally? Why does he feel enraged when she challenges him? Why does he lose himself completely in relationships or become cold and distant? These questions lead him not to answers about women, but to answers about himself. Jung insisted that until a man does this inner work, he is not truly choosing his partners. His complexes are choosing them for him. And here lies the final, liberating truth. Only through individuation can a man truly love a woman as she is, not as a mother, not as a fantasy, not as a savior, not as a threat, but as a human being. When he integrates his anima, he no longer needs to project his idealized feminine image onto someone else. He becomes capable of emotional intimacy without being swallowed. He can offer love without needing to be rescued or to dominate. He can receive love without guilt, shame, or fear. In other words, he becomes whole, and therefore capable of genuine relationship. This maturity is rare because it requires an ongoing confrontation with the unconscious. It is much easier to live in projection, to blame women, to idolize them, or demonize them. But as Jung often said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Most men believe their problems with women are caused by women themselves. But the reality, Jung insisted, is far more personal and far more painful. What most men call love is often a mirror of their inner fragmentation. They seek in women what they have not yet found in themselves. They chase beauty to feel whole. They crave nurturing to feel safe. They desire submission to feel strong. But none of this can last, because it is built on need, not truth. And so the cycle continues. Infatuation, disappointment, conflict, heartbreak. Jung's brutal message to men was this: do your inner work. Stop looking for women to heal you, to complete you, to save you from your own emptiness. Stop projecting the anima outward and begin building a conscious relationship with her within. Until you do, every relationship will be haunted by your own shadow. Every woman you love will be forced to carry the weight of your unconscious. And no matter how beautiful or perfect she seems, she will never satisfy what only you can give yourself. Only when the inner feminine is honored and integrated can the outer feminine be loved in her full reality. Then, and only then, does love become real. Not a rescue mission, not a fantasy, not a battlefield, but a sacred union between two whole beings. This is the love Jung pointed toward. Not the kind that makes you feel complete, but the kind that begins only after you already are.